Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Khalil Doheny, and I'm Director of Content Marketing at Digital Niche Agency. Today we have Jacky Yang from Pegasus. Jacky, how you doing today?
Doing very good. How are you? And how is everyone doing?
Doing great, and hopefully everyone in the webinar audience is doing fantastic. And Jacky, while people are trickling in, do you want to kind of just give a background of yourself, really talk about your history, your background, and really what we can expect from the webinar today?
Yes, of course. I'm a director and the CTO of the company Pegasus, and thank you very much for joining us today. My background is slightly unusual. Essentially, in terms of aerospace, I was the youngest person to fly solo on a microlight in Australia at the age of 14. And after that, it was all about racing bikes and cars. I was never the best at racing. However, all of the structure of those cars and bikes, what made me really interested in engineering. So that is kind of like how it got me also into those mechanical things. And afterwards, I built a little helicopter in my garage when I was 19 years old. And yes, it did fly. However, I did went to university for two politics degrees at the Australian National University. Um, and yeah, and that's about me. So today I will go through a bit more about the company, tell you our story, why Pegasus can certainly become a disruptor of the whole $1 trillion advanced air mobility industry.
Awesome. Thank you for that intro, Jacky. And yeah, this webinar really is to get more information. I know there are going to be some potential, hopefully potential investors in this call, and this is to get your questions answered. So if you have a question for Jacky after the presentation or even during the presentation, please leave them in that Q&A chat box below. We're going to have some room at the end to get those questions answered. And just a couple reminders, due to SEC guidelines, there are some questions we have to refrain from answering. And those are, on the lines of anything that's forward looking, talking about the financial projections, and any deal terms like that. So if you do have a question around any of those things that I've just mentioned, please ask it directly on the Wefunder page. It just has to be a level playground for everyone. So with that being said, Jacky, the mic is yours.
Of course. So we got everybody in here. That's great.
Yep, everyone's coming in.
Alrighty, I'll start over one more time. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much again for joining us. My name is Jacky, the director, one of the director and the CTO of the company Pegasus. And today, let me tell you a bit more about the company, our innovative flying cars, and why Pegasus can become a major player in the flying car slash the advanced air mobility market. So let me go through a short version of our pitch deck, and we will leave plenty of the time so we can answer all of the questions that you could have. One thing I might say is this is not a background, by the way. So everything here has been touched. So and everything moves here. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand that Pegasus is not about PowerPoint. This is something that we definitely do in our garage and we have built. And these two are all behind me, as real as it gets. So the story of our company started all the way back in 2009. And it was because of a soul-destroying traffic jam. And during that blocked traffic, our founder looked up in the sky and saw nothing but clouds. And that is when he realized that the airspace is a resource that we have not yet utilized for daily transportation. And since then, our goal has become revolutionizing transportation with our hybrid VTOL flying car, transform how we travel and how we commute. And after many years of research and development, we conducted our first successful manned flight in 2017. And that was actually aired on Channel 7. After that, we had two airworthiness registration with CASA of Australia, participated in three world-class exhibitions, and one of them was the 2020 CES of Las Vegas. And to this day, Pegasus is still the world's only vertical takeoff and landing, truly drivable and hybrid flying car. As we know that the flying car or the advanced air mobility industry is no longer just a futuristic idea. There are many existing players already. So I want to dive into this particular topic first and strong, and what makes Pegasus absolutely stand out from the rest of the pack. Since the very beginning that we thought it would not be economical and to some extent pointless if we want to design something that requires every regulation to change in order for it to be in operation. And we understand that the product must be innovative, yet practical, and provide real-world utilities to our customers from day one. So different from most of the flying car companies, which uses battery only, Pegasus uses a hybrid power system. So instead of the typical 35 to 40 minutes of range for eVTOLs, Pegasus we can fly up to 3 hours at 100 miles per hour. And the internal combustion fuel we have chosen is also just conventional high-octane gas, which is also almost accessible everywhere. The structure of Pegasus was decided based on how fast we can enter into the market. We use a rotorcraft system that is proven and familiar with the regulators. So when the regulatory systems are inventing all those rules and laws to accommodate with eVTOLs, Pegasus can already have two airworthiness registration with CASA, which permits me to fly it under current airspace regulation. In terms of the range, so I want to put that into perspective. A car trip that was going to take 1 hour on the road will only take about 15 minutes with Pegasus. So that flight at 3 hours of flight range is a lot of trips in the Pegasus flying car. And what this means is that we have introduced an innovative product without adding major barriers in terms of accessibility. And as we move to the United States, our airworthiness registration with FAA should also be very quick because there's a bilateral agreement between CASA and an FAA, essentially saying if we have the certification in Australia, it kind of automatically is approved in the United States. With all of those advantages, Pegasus is already useful to many existing markets. Other than personal transportation, the police force is a market that will target significantly because we can become an extremely useful tool for them for providing surveillance, traffic monitoring, and emergency response. And we can imagine this. If there's an accident occurred on the Golden Gate Bridge with a blocked traffic, the Pegasus flying car will be the fastest thing that can bring an emergency responder to the spot. Yes, drones can perhaps provide surveillance, but no one can bring anything physical to the particular location. And while chasing escaping suspect, the police force no longer need to engage in a high-speed chase on the road, which typically causes harm or casualties. But the Pegasus police flying car can simply fall behind the suspect in the air, out of the rearview mirror, and report the suspect location once they have stopped. We can do all of those is because we have 3 hours of flight range, and no other eVTOL companies can achieve that currently. Moreover, the Pegasus flying car really makes economic sense to those departments. A typical police helicopter, the Augusta AW169, not only it costs tens of millions of dollars to purchase per unit, but it also costs about $4,000 per hour to operate. However, for the Pegasus E flying car, the one that you see behind me, we can totally put a surveillance camera under the body. And the unit cost is only about $330K USD and $140 per hour to operate. So with more units of the Pegasus flying car, the police can also cover greater areas. You don't even need to land in an airport to refuel and land on a soccer pitch and drive to the nearest gas station to refuel. This is how useful we can become. So the market potential for Pegasus is extremely vast, with applications extending beyond personal transportations. And the versatility, the efficiency of our vehicles make them ideal for a wide range of users. Pegasus is certainly at the forefront of innovation. We have secured 10 patents, with 5 more under application, ensuring our technology is both mature and future-proof. And one of my favorite is the contractible steering wheel and the contractible cyclic control during flight. And the reason we build such system is because to ensure safety. Essentially, as you're driving on the road, you do not want to accidentally touch any of those flight components. But more importantly, as you're flying, so before you take off, you can press one single button and the steering wheel will be stowed away for you. So as you're flying, it's not possible for you to bump into any of those on-road driving controls. And as we know, the steering wheel will causes the front two wheels to change angles. And the reason why we don't want to do that in the air is because it could change the aerodynamic characteristic of the flying car when it's in the air. One thing we have not really mentioned in this particular page is our unique semi-monocoque system. Essentially, we invented a new method of manufacturing a monocoque, but without the need of those heavy infrastructure or equipments typically needed for composite engineering. And those include the autoclaves or the carbon fiber cutting machines. For two of the Pegasus engineers, we can build one semi-monocoque in just 2 days without all of them. So imagine the applications of that, not only in the flying car industry, but at the same time in the automotive sector. These are the biggest players in the AAM industry currently. As we can see, EHang, Archer, and Joby, they're all listed companies right here in the United States. And the repeated theme here is that they're all eVTOLs, which can fly for about 40 minutes. And the truth is that the energy density of battery packs are simply not good enough yet. And a battery pack that could be potentially good enough for VTOL flight, a vertical takeoff and landing flight, is still around probably 8 years away. And that means for an eVTOL, for them to be in operation, they will need a lot of additional infrastructure for charging and landing. And we know already the biggest city of the world, their electric grid is already operating at limitation. So that is another challenge they will have to resolve. At the same time, the vertiports will not show up overnight, and we have seen none so far, which adds further delay to their plan of commercialization. Whereas for Pegasus, we can use every existing airport and infrastructure, big or small, for our operation. High-octane gas is accessible everywhere, and we do not have the last-mile delivery issue because we can be driven on the road. So we eVTOLs, you have to still take that little awkward taxi drive to the vertiport or away from the vertiport. However, for Pegasus, we are designed to take you to the destination from the very beginning. So where others are still charging their eVTOLs between flight, Pegasus will be flying, delivering customer to the destination in record speed. And to operate Pegasus, you need a helicopter pilot's license. And this is something that not many people have talked about in the advanced air mobility industry. So what that means for Pegasus is that we already have access to a large pool of skilled and experienced pilots to provide commercial flights, while other companies are still training a new type of workforce for the eVTOLs. And the point is all about Pegasus, we can get into the market much faster. Every company is trying to build the first effective and economical air taxi network. It will be the benchmark for success. And Pegasus, we are well positioned to be an early entry to this particular market. Our air taxi network aims to revolutionize urban transportation with short-haul flights up to 100 miles. And we're targeting 57 cities across the United States, offering both 4-seater and the 12-seater models. And because the Pegasus Air Taxi will be built based on our existing tech stack, having the same advantages over our competitors, and because of our range, we can deliver people to places where there's no electric charging infrastructure. We can fly further than everyone because we can simply refill at any gas station and continue the journey. And we fly when others are still planning. We fly when others are still building. And by entering the market first, Pegasus will become the name that people think about first when flying cars are mentioned. As predicted by Morgan Stanley, the total market size for the advanced air mobility industry, or the flying car industry, will be $1 trillion by 2040. And Pegasus is ready to be a pioneer of it. However, did you know that actually in 2018, Morgan Stanley actually said the market will be about $1.5 trillion instead of $1 trillion? So why the decrease? It is because in 2020, when the new report was released, Morgan Stanley realized that the regulatory framework is more difficult to involve. And critically, they realized that battery energy density would not improve to the critical level as fast as people predicted. And these are also the reason why Joby and Ehang was shorted on the stock exchange, because eVTOLs cannot provide real commercialization in the short term. So let us look at Pegasus again. Our design philosophy avoids all of those hurdles, and those problems will not exist for the Pegasus product. We're much more familiar to the current regulatory bodies, and we do not need battery energy or battery technology to improve, and we will say astronomically, so we can fly for longer. And so this is the best time to become a part of Pegasus and be a part of the Pegasus revolution to the advanced air mobility industry. Here are the Pegasus team. On the left-hand side, I'll go through this very quickly. On the left-hand side is the founder. So Michael is the one that looked up in the sky and saw nothing but clouds. And he then decided to make a flying car. He used to be a fighter pilot when he was young. And I think this is where he got all of those experiences and knowledge to start an aerospace company. But throughout his professional career, he's been extremely creative because he was successful in many different industries, including he was a very famous boxing promoter and coach, training two female world champions, winning belts in WBA and WBC, including becoming the president of SPBA. Also, he had a listed company called the Ultimate Power and Energy Limited that was listed on CBSE in Australia. And with all of his experience, he can really take Pegasus far and long and become a success. On the right-hand side is me. I was explaining before, my background is slightly unusual because at the age of 14, I was the youngest to fly solo in a microlight. That is when I got my first pilot's license. And afterwards, I always loved racing bikes and cars, but I was never the best. However, understanding why those structures work as a race car or race bike got me a lot of knowledge and hands-on experience in building things. At the age of 19, I built a helicopter in my garage, which flew. And at the same time, I went to university for 2 politics degrees. So my job in the company is all about completing the package of the Pegasus flying car, make sure it is practical and it is usable for the market. This is the core team of Pegasus. On the left-hand side, Peter Scheif, who is a great mentor of mine. I've learned plenty from him. But he is a legendary V8 supercar designer, which is like the equivalent of NASCAR in the United States. So he built so many of those cars that won championships, including multiple wins at Bathurst, which is arguably the second most challenging racetrack of the entire world. And he is the reason why Pegasus flying car is so light, and he's also the reason why that the Pegasus flying car is the first flying car in the entire world that can go around corners sideways. He is a very important member for Pegasus, and all of the knowledge of composite engineering is shared. It came from him. On the second is Jason. I've known him for more than a decade. He is the man to make that's possible to. He is the man that can make anything happen. Essentially, if you have anything, have a problem with or question with manufacturing or engineering, tell him what it is, and he will make it happen. Debbie, she is a wonderful assistant to our director and CEO, with more than 3 decades of experience working for companies, multinational companies, with companies like GE. And she's also fluent in 4 languages, English, French, Japanese, and Chinese. On the right-hand side, Harry, he is our electrical engineer. Essentially, he is the guru for our engine management system, making sure the Pegasus flying car has the right amount of power, also reliably delivered. These are external advisors that have helped Pegasus along our journey. But I must give a shout out to Bob Carlton, because Bob Carlton, we met him in 2023 during the Avalon Air Show, and he loved the Pegasus flying car project since the moment that he saw it. As you know, Pegasus started in Australia and will be moving to the United States very soon. And Bob, he is a legendary airshow showman. So he's got a lot of experience in registering aircraft with the FAA. He will be the FAA certification advisor for Pegasus as we move, and he can ensure that the certification process goes smoothly and done very quickly for Pegasus. And Pegasus has established significant partnership and collaborations to support our growth. And we're working with the US DOT Railroad University Transportation Center and have received strong support from the Nevada government. These partnerships are crucial in advancing our technology and ensuring successful market entry. One of the first things, and this is something we're having conversation about, is as we go to Las Vegas, we want to do a demonstration drive on the Las Vegas Strip. We can all picture the publicity that will bring to the Pegasus company, and everyone will be shouting, "The age of flying cars is coming" after that. And because of the unique location of Las Vegas and the surrounding airports, we will be conducting demonstration and test flights in those regions, showing our potential customers and including the police force of what Pegasus can bring. Pegasus will definitely move quickly, and our target is clear, and we know how to get there. So once the Wefunder round is complete, we'll immediately begin our registration process with the FAA and concrete our plan for the demonstration drive in Las Vegas. We will increase our market presence and make our brand heard around the globe, but providing a real flying car to the market that can be commercialized the fastest. In 2015, as we have contracted 10 units of the Pegasus E flying car, we should get them completed and build our air taxi network operation application processes. At the same time, we will increase the size of the Pegasus team, strengthening our board and governance capabilities. In 2026, we believe we'll complete another 30 units of Pegasus products and then begin a new round of capital raising. In 2027, I should mention that becoming a listed company is a goal of Pegasus since the very beginning. So as we are able to, if we're able to reach listing requirements, Pegasus aims to achieve a public listed company status on NASDAQ as soon as possible. And during that time, we'll expand our production capabilities to meet the potential production requirements and demand. And here we are. A Pegasus flying car fits into a general car park. This is something very useful and brings a lot of utilities for personal transportation. This is actually the first model that Pegasus created. We call it the Pegasus S. It's a coaxial drive system, and we will be developing that further down the track. Thank you very much. I'm open to all the questions that you have and shoot them away.
Thank you, Jacky, for that wonderful presentation. And yes, let's get your questions answered. We have a good amount of questions. So if we don't get to all your questions, don't worry. We will be having the replay up on the Wefunder page in the coming days. So be on the lookout for that. All right, first question I see here is how hard would it be for a pilot or driver to be certified to use a Pegasus?
As we designed the Pegasus, we wanted to be familiar to helicopter license and be familiar to drivers on the road, just general drivers on the road. So the control system for flight is essentially the same as a rotorcraft or as a helicopter. The left-hand side is the collective, in the middle is the cyclic. And we've also invented a system that blends the brakes and the accelerator into the pedal system of a rotorcraft. So what that means is the minimum requirement to operate a Pegasus flying car is actually just a recreational helicopter license, which takes about 30 hours to get from the FAA. So that is something quite simple, and that is the certification needed. Of course, you need a driver's license for the road too.
Mm-hmm. And then I think that kind of just ties into this next question. What specific certifications or regulatory approvals has the Pegasus flying car obtained so far? And what additional ones are needed before widespread commercial use?
So the airworthiness registration we've got from CASA is essentially like an experimental certificate that allows me to fly the Pegasus flying car. This is kind of like a gap that we found in terms of the regulatory framework. So it allows Pegasus to be in operation now. So I can take it out today. And what you do see here, you can see around here, VH8 Alpha 8. So that means it is registered. It is currently registered under my name. I'm the test pilot, by the way. So yeah, we can really fly today. So what that means is people can purchase Pegasus flying car right now, and we can help them building it all together, and they can really fly it. And in terms of like a much greater adoption, because we followed essentially a light rotorcraft regulation here. So when we bring it to the FAA for a full type certificate, we should be able to get that very much faster as well. These are the regulatory certification we'll need further for mass adoption. And I must say that let's not picture 2,000 flying cars in the air first. Let's picture 20 Pegasus flying cars in the air in each city, because that is very manageable and it is very easy to picture. And so a lot of people will comment online saying, "Oh, we can't have we can't have we have traffic jam on the road, and what if we have traffic jam in the air?" So what we say is that is definitely not going to happen, because regulation would take time for mass adoption. But having 10 or 20 of them operating in every city is very imaginable. And in terms of the police, it is totally possible for them to work on an experimental certificate, which is what we have right now, because demonstrating the capabilities of Pegasus will become very important for the public. And as they see these kind of specialty departments taking on examples, utilizing flying cars for the jobs, and then Pegasus is well positioned to become a popular product as the flying car being adopted around the world.
Yeah, it's kind of like here in the States right now, with the Cybertrucks, right? We're seeing, Cybertruck here, Cybertruck there, but now we're seeing more and more come out. So I definitely could, see the idea behind it.
Hmm.
And then what about pricing? How does the pricing of the Pegasus compare to traditional vehicles and other emerging flying car concepts?
330,000 USD is for the Pegasus E. And as the air taxi come out, we predict it will be about 600,000 USD too. So Pegasus is priced definitely lower compared to other flying cars. And the thing is, we are a much more useful package when it as a flying car, because there's a company called PALV, which is more of a conventional gyrocopter. It still requires a runway to operate, and I do believe that is close to about 1 million euros. So for a flying car that still requires a runway to operate, first thing, it does not make sense. So why do you have a flying car and still need a runway? So Pegasus is priced definitely lower than that, 330,000 USD, and with much more utilities. And this, I think, is also another great advantage for Pegasus. And compared to eVTOLs, certainly there are bigger sizes. For the ones that are similar size, they do not drive, and they're also in the range of millions. So this is where Pegasus is at.
And then what is the current production capacity for the Pegasus, and how do you plan to scale manufacturing to meet potential demand?
Currently, we have taken a contract of 10 units, and we received deposits for the 2 units. And these are the two that behind me that we should complete by the end of this year. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Yeah, let me just pull that up here.
It's how do we scale, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as we designed the Pegasus, we wanted to be scalable from the very beginning, and that is one of the reasons why we invented that semi-monocoque system. So it essentially allows us to build these things extremely quickly. Everything is quite modular. Essentially, we can piece them separately on the bench, and then when it comes to the assembly table, we can put them all together with just a few bolts. So this is the construction engineering concept behind it. As I mentioned, in 2025, we will be expanding our capacity. And as soon as we go to Las Vegas, we will be exploring a much bigger place than what we have right now, and having the extra labor force to help us to build the Pegasus flying car. So in terms of the actual manufacturing technique, we are a blend between automotive industry and aerospace. So we do not have the problem of like a helicopter company, for example, that everything takes extremely long time to finish. At Pegasus Flying Car, with all the right components, will only take about 3 months to complete per unit, and that is now. So with a much bigger place, with more people, that can be reduced significantly. And of course, we can build multiple at the same time.
And then how does Pegasus integrate with existing air traffic control systems?
We blend into the current airspace regulation and air traffic perfectly. Because before every time I take off, I simply make a radio call to the region, and they provide me a feedback and say if I can take off or not. So that is exactly the same as taking off as a light sport aircraft or a helicopter. Yeah, so there's no additional steps to it. There's no complications to say I'm actually a flying car. What do I do now? No, there's not. So really, with this particular registration of what we had, you simply make a radio call before you land. Typical calls. There are no additional steps to it.
And we talked a little bit about the uses of it, but what specific partnerships or contracts have been established with police departments, border control, or emergency services?
These are all the markets that we'll be targeting very soon, because the police model of Pegasus was completed in middle of 2023. So this is something we're still exploring right now. But since the team decided to pull the trigger on moving to the US, so we have begun all the conversation in terms of how we can make that happen. And it seems like Malaysia and Indonesia might be the first customers for those border force control units, because they're an island country, and for the fact that we can fly for 3 hours, it can surround the entire country fairly easily and provide a lot of those surveillance work for their border force control. So this is a conversation we are having right now, and hopefully we can, of course, I hope we can land that very soon. And as we go to the US, we have already engaged in conversation with the Nevada Police Department. Their initial feedback is positive, and they definitely really like it. And essentially, all we need to do next is bring the Pegasus flying car units to the US and do a demonstration.
And then let's see. Okay, and then what about widespread adoption? This could include landing pads or charging slash refueling stations.
Yeah, so infrastructure Pegasus, we don't need anything that's additional for initial adoption. Because first thing is we do not need charging stations. We can refuel at any gas station using high octane. High octane being 98 a leaded fuel, which is just a conventional petrol, conventional gas. So yeah, we do not need any of them. But of course, when the air taxi comes along in the future, we can use the vertiports that's being built for other eVTOL companies, and we can share all of them around. So Pegasus can use existing infrastructure to be useful straight away.
And then what is the expected lifespan of Pegasus flying car, and what maintenance requirements does it have?
Like a typical aircraft, you can use it for as long as you maintain it correctly. We have a very conventional maintenance schedule, just like a helicopter. The typical 1 hour, 5 hour, 10 hour, 20 hour, and 50 hour maintenance. And these can all be done. These can all be done by existing helicopter maintenance personnel. And so yeah, these are what we can do.
Okay, and then how do you plan to address potential concerns about noise pollution and airspace congestion in urban areas?
Airspace congestion is very unlikely to happen. Like I said before, let's picture 20 of the Pegasus flying cars in the air first. And 20 flying cars will be almost unnoticeable. in terms of in the vast airspace, because you can have altitude separation. Essentially, someone, let's say, flying at about 1,200 feet, someone flying at 1,400 feet. So they will just fly past each other with no intervention between them whatsoever. Sorry, what was the second part of the question again?
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's see here. Yeah, and airspace congestion in urban areas. So noise pollution as well.
Oh, noise pollution. So Pegasus is very similar to a Robertson 22 helicopter, which is roughly 91 decibel bells in terms of a flyby at a particular distance, which essentially will meet all the regulations. And then I think in those urban areas, you barely notice them flying past all the time. So it's definitely, I do not believe, will be a concern initially. But if we go back to the patent page of Pegasus, we are actually finalizing a design for a noise reduction propeller blade, and that will be implemented for Pegasus as soon as it is ready.
And then what intellectual property does Pegasus hold related to its hybrid power system and other key technologies?
The high, I need to in terms of hybrid technology, we are finalizing our patent application because this particular case is used for flying car rather than other industries. So we are correcting some of the wordings right now to make sure that is fitted for our company and that cannot be copied anywhere else. And the trick here is that it is a conventional internal combustion engine that uses gas instead of like a electric/hydrogen hybrid system, for example. So this is what the Pegasus is doing different compared to other people. Other intellectual properties like the contractible steering wheel, contractible cyclic control, and also the blending between the flight and the drive system. These are the ones that will make Pegasus absolutely stand out as a flying car overall in the entire industry. Because by having those, no other people can have a, for example, like an integrated flight control system. And when it comes to usability and consumer friendliness, Pegasus will always be at the forefront of that.
And then is VTOL dangerous? Can it be used in various weather conditions?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, so the question is asking, is VTOL dangerous? Can it be used in various weather conditions?
I have had the Pegasus flying car at the 25 knots of crosswind before and just hovering there. So no, VTOL is definitely not dangerous. It is fantastic to use. It is fantastic to use. It is definitely not dangerous. Yeah.
Yep. And then how much in pre-order sales have been made?
So we've have official contracts for 10, and we've taken deposits for 2 units. We should be finishing the 2 units this year and completing the rest of the 10 units by the end of next year. But there are 120 of indicative orders which has been made, and these are all waiting for us to finalizing them. And also, this is a conversation that happened in the last week actually. So a flying car or eVTOL dealership that's based in Florida called Aero Auto. We're having conversation right now about them becoming the official dealer of Pegasus in the US and also potentially in the Dubai region.
And then can a Pegasus transport a injured person?
The 2 units behind me are single seaters, but the 4-seater and the 12-seater air taxi would definitely be able to do so. And this is something that we'd certainly aim for because of our vertical takeoff and landing abilities, it should become very useful for them.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the crowdfunding campaign. Jacky, why go the crowdfunding route instead of trying to get fully funded?
Yeah, Pegasus has conducted a crowdfunding campaign in Australia before, and the reason we did that was because of the overwhelming support we got during the Avalon Air Show. Everyone came over to our flying car and asked First is they were fascinated by the technology, but at the same time they say, how can I become a part of it? That is what actually triggered Pegasus to do the crowdfunding in Australia first. And we got a pretty good result from it. And the community has been extremely positive in terms of what we do because they loved seeing something different that is not the same as other big companies that are doing, but seeing the reason and the logic behind our design and believing it could be a very good product for this particular industry. So as we move to the US, this is something that we want to repeat and do one more time because it allows people to have the opportunity to become something that is quite unique. This is why we went for crowdfunding. And after this particular round on Wefunder, as I mentioned in the previous pages, in 2026, I'm sure we will be finalizing a round of capital raising with institutional investors. And again, this is something that we are having discussions already. It's just slightly further down the track of the Wefunder once the people have put in their belief in us.
Well, Jack, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, but I guess I have a question for you.
Sure.
Say someone, is on the fence of, really buying the bullet and investing into Pegasus. What would you tell that person are the top 3 reasons you should invest?
Let's look at the logic behind Pegasus, and all we focus on is how practical we can be and how fast we can commercialize this particular product. So by making a simple comparison, that regulation and in terms of range are the biggest advantages of Pegasus and how fast we can enter into the market and become a useful product. So those are the factors that determines a successful company. By having a great design philosophy allows us to do that. And I think as a flying car, again, compared to our competitors, this will be the most useful package overall in a very long run. And by the way, using a hybrid system, we were not ignoring the battery technology, by the way. The fact that we're using hybrid energy gives a lot of experience and knowledge on battery technology. So as soon as that is ready, we will simply make a switch and become an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft as soon as that is ready. So Pegasus is not only practical today, but it is also future-proof.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jacky, so much for spending time out of your day to go through this. Is there any final things you want to leave the audience with before we sign off here today?
For sure. Please have a look at our website. There's more flying and driving videos there, and also have some of the potentially have some of the question answered to your questions. And jly@bpegasus.com is my email. So anything that you want to know, please just email me, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacky, and thank you everyone who attended the webinar. If at any moment you had to hop off the webinar, don't worry. This webinar has been recorded, so we will be posting the replay on the Wefunder page and across socials and email. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you. Hope everyone has a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.